What up, Rainmaker family? We are back with another episode deep diving on the Rainmaker Method. If you missed episode 202, skip back a handful of episodes. You'll hear part one all about leverage. Now, our Rainmaker Method is the same method that we've been following, that many families have been following in our community to hit incredible income, but also do it in a way that is time leverage, which means they have time freedom. This is how you build a family first business. And we're going deep on this method in this podcast. We did a whole deep dive on the first pillar of this method. That's called leverage. It's episode 202. So if you missed that one, go back and listen to it. Today, we're talking about the second pillar, which is solution.
And I think just to scale back a little bit, like the reason why Stephen and I are talking about this is because these three vital things that are in the Rainmaker Method, you can literally take and apply it to any business, not just what we teach here in Rainmakers, but literally any business, because it's all about giving you more time to do more with less. And what we believe, like we've taken this and applied it in every single area. Like Stephen has coached thousands of different businesses on this kind of topic. And these are some of the things that he looks at right away just to see like, how can I not only increase someone's income, but create more impact in the world? And so that's why we feel like this is an important thing that any business owner can take right away.
And just a heads up, we're both getting over being like massively sick. Yeah. So we're both kind of have a little bit of a cough going on. So we've missed a week on the podcast. We've been really consistent. Okay. I'm really proud of us for like 3 years.
Yes,
if we missed a week, that's what we're going at. But we're back and we're coming back in strong. And we're talking about solutionary because I think a lot of people, like they might get this piece of business, but if they don't have part one, right? Pillar one, leverage, then they end up doing stuff that just takes all their time. And we're sharing that from experience because me and Chelsey did that. Like we created a solution, one of our first businesses. We were, all business is like usually solving a problem. It's bringing a solution to the marketplace of some sort, right? People trade money for things they value. If you can offer more value to people, they'll pay you more money. Okay. These are like just core. How business works, right? Business is all just solving problems and figuring out solutions. And so, our first businesses were service-based businesses, services where people, you need a service. You need your house cleaned, you hire a house cleaner, right? You need your car fixed, you hire a mechanic, right? That's all just solutionary style businesses. And so I think the problem though, a lot of entrepreneurs get into is like, I want to start a business. I want to retire on my 9 to 5, whatever. And they just get into something that is a solution, but it doesn't have pillar one, which is leverage. Okay. So if you missed the leverage episode, we talked technology leverage, time leverage, people leverage. There's so many forms of leverage, and leverage is all about how can I do more with less? And so we did this. We had a season where we just added more side hustles, added more businesses, which were adding solutions. We were practicing this pillar two, but we didn't have pillar one. And so it ended up just burning us out, like extending our time, overwhelming us. And really like we had to come back to pillar one. So I'm just saying that as a disclaimer before we talk about pillar two here. Just make sure you listen to that episode 201, just a handful of episodes back, where we go deep on the concept of leverage.
So really at the heart of being a solutionary, which we are all about, it really comes down to this one question: what problem can I solve? When you think about the problem that you can solve, you can charge for it. There are people out there in the world that are looking for a solution to their problem.
And the bigger the problem you solve, the more you actually get paid. And I remember we were just listening to this interview with MrBeast. It was really interesting. He's one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet. And he just talked about solving big problems. He was just like, I just like to solve complex problems in a simple way and solve massive problems. Like that's what keeps him up at night. He's like, how can I solve a big problem? And so he launched this chocolate company. But when he looked at the chocolate industry, he saw a big problem, right? And when he dug into the chocolate industry, he found that there's a lot of these cocoa farms, and they're honestly just using child labor to produce these chocolates that we love. And so he's like, what if we could do this better? We could actually create an ethical sourcing company that actually has a program to help kids get off the farms and get into schools, creating a livable income. Like that is epic, right? Taking a commodity, but solving a way bigger global problem with that thing. This is a 9-figure business at this point, generating hundreds of millions of dollars. But not only that, it's like creating such value in the world through the solutions creating, not just for the customer. Customer wants chocolate, right?
Yeah.
They buy chocolate. That's solving a very small problem. They will only pay a small dollar for that problem, right? Because that chocolate bar costs, I don't know, $2, $3. That's what it's worth to the customer. But he's using this vehicle to actually solve a way bigger problem with the business. And I think that's incredible. That's what we call the solutionary mindset. This is pillar two, finding a solution to a problem. And so when you're thinking about starting a business, I think that's a big question to ask. What's the biggest problem that I can solve? Maybe not just even me. What's the biggest problem that I collectively can solve? Maybe you can assemble people. I know we were in the wedding industry. I always go back to that example because that's really where we cut our teeth as entrepreneurs. And I remember there was these venues that would basically you sign up for this venue and they would give you everything. So it wasn't just like the venue. They'd have the DJ, they'd have the florist, they'd have the photographer, right? And we didn't love this as photographers because we're like, we want to just free choice and hire us. Don't just hire these, wedding venue photographers. But I get it. They're solving a massive problem. A lot of brides who were just busy and, had money, they'd be willing to pay $50,000 to this venue, not just to get the venue, but get all the other stuff and save all that time, just be have all this all done for me for a certain type of customer. That worked really well. Right. And so even though we didn't like it as photographers, some brides really liked that. That all these things were included. One-stop shop. And most venues were charging maybe $5,000, $10,000 in our area. But then there's these venues that did that. They could charge $50,000 because they solved a bigger problem.
Okay, I have a question for you, Stephen. I think that when you think about solving problems, going back to that question, what problem can I solve and get paid for it? I think the getting paid piece sometimes can be tricky because I think if you're listening to this show, you probably are creative. You probably have lots of ideas. Hopefully, Stephen and I give you lots of ideas, whether it's a physical product, a digital product, or even just a service that you've thought about starting. And I know I talk to lots of entrepreneurial friends who, we are always thinking of the next thing that we can solve. And I hear you doing this often too. What if we did this and what if we did that? And some of our best products have come from those types of conversations. Some of the things that you're seeing in Rainmakers have come from either feedback or, getting our team together and thinking. But I think sometimes there is a disconnect between the idea that you have and thinking that, oh, this actually will solve a problem and people actually being willing to pay for it. Because I remember going back to the wedding industry again, I remember there's a photographer and in her area, she wanted to do these welcome home sessions where a soldier would come home, reunite with their family, their wife, and she would document a specific type of session. And she had all of these, military wives who loved the idea and she had done free sessions. And then when it actually came time for people to pay her what she felt like those sessions were worth, there was a disconnect. And I think sometimes people run into that with certain services or problems so what would be your suggestion for somebody who feels like they've done a little bit of research or they think man, I would want that. But how do you know if it's actually going to land? And what are those types of steps that you feel like someone should take to figure out is this actually a viable business where I'm going to get paid what I think I should be getting paid?
Yeah. I mean, we recently had Jack Savage come into our mastermind community and train. And I was asking him interview questions. It was so interesting. He started this brand called Everyday Dose. It's a mushroom coffee company. And a lot of our listeners, it was interesting. When we brought him in the room, right? People were I drink this coffee. I think it was a lot of people were fans of this brand already, which was so cool. So Jack Savage came in and he kind of talked about this thing he called your dharma, right? And I actually never had heard it called that, but I've heard it called the word ikigai, which is a Japanese word. And I love this word because it is, when you hear this word explained, it's wow, there's no English word really that kind of does this. So ikigai is really the combination. If you can imagine a Venn diagram, and it's the very middle where everything overlaps. So one circle is what you love, right? One circle is what you're good at. One circle is what you can get paid for. And one circle is what the world needs, right? So you not only do you love it, right? You're good at it. You can get paid for it and the world actually needs it. When you have all four of those things, that little middle where it all overlaps is ikigai, right? And sometimes people, like you say, have oh, I love this. Oh, I'm good at this. Oh, I could get paid for this, but the world doesn't need it, right? It's not giving back to the world. It's not has this cause. And so it doesn't have all four of those things. Or we see a lot of people oh, I love this. I'm good at this. The world needs this, but I can't get paid for it, right? That's a ministry. Okay. So that's a ministry. You can do it for free because everyone needs this. It's really helpful, but people just aren't willing to pay for that thing, right? Right now. And so when you find something that has all four of those things, that's really the sweet spot where if your solution does all that, not only I think you could build $1 million business off of things you can get paid for and the world needs. But if you love it and you're good at it potentially, right? Like that is a recipe for like going the distance, right? Because you can just make money because the world needs it. You get paid for it. You know, like right now AI is hot. Like you launch an AI service and like, you know, the world needs it and you definitely get paid for it. But if you don't love AI, you're not going deep on it. Are you going to go the distance on that thing? No. Right. So you want to make sure that like there's that passion there. There's that mission there. But you can also make money. Like it can be profession, it can be vocation, and I'll put all these things together. That equals that middle of that circle. And so I think when you're thinking solutions, one thing that we recommend doing is choosing a monetization pathway, right? Like, and there's really a handful that we lean into in our community. That is physical products. Of course, we have people launch physical products. 5 to 6 new physical product brands are being launched every single week in our community of Rainmakers. And we also see a lot of people in digital product. So that could be like a digital download, an ebook, a course. It could be like a digital product you upload to Amazon and Amazon prints it and ships it to the customer. That's digital products. And we also see affiliate products, right? Where we see people promoting other things and making money as a commission for a referral to that sale. And so those are like 3 things. There is also service-based businesses, but we find that those don't have as much leverage unless you are leveling up from level 1 to level 2. We talked about that in the other episode. Level 1 is you're doing all the stuff. Level 2 is you are managing people who do all the stuff. Or maybe you're managing AI who do all the stuff, or AI agents, right? That would be what we call level 2. So I wouldn't recommend a service-based business unless you have some sort of level 2 opportunity in there. That's really what's going to give you like the ability to build a business that has time freedom. It's going to be that leverage and the solution. Okay. So, but I'd say the common solutions are those 3: affiliate, digital, and physical.
Okay. What about, so you're going back to that getting paid? Cause I think that's, again, at least for me, entrepreneurs, we have so many ideas. So how would you recommend somebody test, does the problem that I'm going to solve, can I actually get paid what I think I should get paid? And again, I think there's sometimes building blocks. Like I think, you know, what we're charging now in Rainmakers is not what we charged in the beginning. You know, there's a difference, and we've added things and continue to make the program better and better. And same thing, we were a service-based business. Like what I charged from day one is not what I would charge now, or when we exited from wedding photography. So how do you think people can kind of test, say like, you know, you say like somebody is coming in and they're like, I don't have a huge social media presence. I don't have this massive brand yet, but I'm willing to do the work. How could I test to see, let's go physical product and then maybe a digital product? Because I think those, I think, are what a lot you see.
I mean, any idea, any solution you have, I think like you want to test it. Like it might sound really great to you. It might sound really great to your buddies. When they're drinking. Like, but like when you actually say, will
a stranger who doesn't know, like, or trust you buy your product?
That's the true test. Will people vote with their wallets? And I'm telling you guys, we made this mistake because even when we launched Rainmakers, okay, we were in the wedding business and we were doing this Rainmaker thing on the side. We had seen amazing success with Amazon and using this method on Amazon. So we started telling people about it, right? And we first did it for free. Okay. We first did it for free. And then eventually it came time to like, let's make a little coaching thing out of this. And so I was like, I'll take on a handful of coaching students. And we made an offer to people like, hey, if you pay this money, I will coach you. I'll take you through this process. I'll work with you one-on-one. And that's what we did at the very beginning. And it did really well, right? We like launched this thing and it like, whoa, a bunch of people signed up for this. This was crazy. We like it was mind blowing. That was mind blowing for us, right? Like, whoa, that was wild. And then we worked with those people and did the thing. And then we thought like, man, this has potential to just reach millions, right? So we hire this Facebook ad agency and they go spend all the money we just made on Facebook failing. Okay. They get us banned off of Facebook. And like, now we can't run any ads on Facebook at this point in our business journey. And we're just like, oh my gosh, what happened? Right. So what happened was when we launched this thing, and I'm just talking to myself as an early stage entrepreneur, like, duh, like, bro, you should have seen this. But like, when we launched,
you don't know.
It was to a warm market. Okay. So,
which means friends and family, or a friend of a friend, again, who have some level of know, like, and trust. You know, those people who want to support.
Yeah. So the people who bought the first round of coaching were like friends. They were friends of friends, friends of friends of friends. Like they'd seen us at a wedding. They were local people. It was like, you know, there was a little bit of trust there. As soon as you go run a Facebook ad and you ask a complete stranger to pull out their credit card and pay the same dollar amount, there's not that trust factor there. And so it really tests the thing. And we just didn't realize the difference between cold and warm audiences.
Yeah.
And so I think testing your idea is great to do it to a warm audience, right? Start there because like that's the easiest way to start monetizing, right? It's just like, hey, serve the people around you. But if you really want to test this thing, you got to get it to work for a complete stranger. If it works for a complete stranger and you know how to talk to that person, you know how to, you put it in front of that person, they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I needed that. Then you have the potential to really scale this thing, okay? And really take it to the moon because if it works for strangers, you know that you can run ads to it, you can get in front of people. And I always look for those ideas. Like I remember being at this mastermind. I don't think this guy will listen to this episode, so hopefully not, and he won't get offended. But there was this guy and he just was like, oh man, like he's into a lot of businesses. Honestly, he seemed like a really successful guy, but he had this idea and he's like, yeah, we had this idea to like reinvent like the Band-Aid, and because he heard we were doing physical products. So he's like, I want to pick your brain, all this stuff. So he's like, yeah, the problem with the Band-Aid is like, it's not sanitary. Like, so when you put it on, you have to like pull these things off and touch the thing. And it's also really hard for people that have mobility issues. Maybe they only have one arm or they can't use an arm. How do they put on a Band-Aid? They have to ask someone else for help. So he's like, we create a Band-Aid you can put on with one hand and it's completely sanitary. I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. And it sounds like you love that and you're really good at it, right? But does the world need this? And will people pay money for this, right? Because he was like, how do we take this to market? And I'm like, yeah, there is a subcategory person who like heard that just now on the podcast and they're like, oh my God, that's for me. Right. But is it like really marketable? And he was asking me about Amazon and I was like, I don't know on Amazon if people are really searching for one-handed Band-Aids. You know what I mean? Like, or, like, it's just like, I don't think it's not as big as a problem as you think. Like people just ask for help and they just don't care, but there might be, I don't know, maybe you're listening to the show and you're like, that's for me. Oh my gosh, I need that. I'm super into like the germs and like, I wash my hands before I do the Band-Aid. Like, I'm just not like that. I'm just like, whatever, slap a Band-Aid on it. You know what I mean? So I just share that example as like a funny example. We also launched a product called the Pendama one time. And it was similar. Like we thought it was like cool and people in our friend group thought it was cool. And it was this like fidget toy cool thing. And then like we put it to the market and it sold a little bit, but it wasn't like that viral hit. We thought it was gonna be like the next yo-yo, you know what I mean?
And sometimes you do take risks on things and maybe like, maybe this Band-Aid thing will be like the next big thing. And you hear that all the time from people who are like, no one believed in me. But sometimes I think especially when you are getting started, it's better to like test things initially, which is why we love Amazon because you can go off of data for launching a product. You're not like hoping and praying that it works out.
Yeah.
I think even with digital products, you can kind of do the same thing, like test it a little bit,
I guess I didn't really answer your question, but like what you're saying there is that's the answer. Test.
Do small tests before you just like spend a bunch of money on, or going off a platform that already has traffic like Amazon and has the data.
I'd say 100% if you can sell it before it's made. That is a great way to test things. Hey, I'm thinking about launching a digital guide on this. Would you like, it's going to be $10. Would you like to pre-order a copy for $1? Okay. If someone won't pay you $1 for that, it's a bad idea, right? Like $1 is a great test. It's just $1, but they have to pull out their credit card and do it. Like it's a really great test. There's this book called The $1 Million Weekend. And he talks about this, like testing ideas before you've really even took time to build them. Because you could go build a course and all this stuff and then it doesn't sell, right? And I've done that too. I built the whole, how to buy Bitcoin in 2017 course. You should have bought it back then, but no one did. Right? Because I built it in a silo, not asking for any feedback. And then like, it didn't sell, right? You should just sell it, see if it sells. And then when it sells, use that sale as motivation to go build the thing. You can do that with digital products. You can do it with physical products, right? You can say, hey, I'm launching this product. Here's a sample. We do a lot of testing like this. But honestly, I would just start, if you have an idea, texting your friends and seeing if you can get a friend to pay a super small amount for that solution, right?
Yeah.
If that is true, then you might have something there. Now it's like, okay, can I get a stranger to pay a very, very small amount for that solution? That is true. Then you go further, build it further, right? Okay, now I maybe get a stranger to pay a medium amount for that service or thing or whatever, right? And you just raise it up from there. But we're big fans of like, that's leverage. That's like, we're going to tiptoe into this thing and not spend all our time on it and perfectionism and all these things. Let's go test it to the marketplace. If it works, we'll go build it more. As entrepreneurs and parents, convenience is key. But that doesn't mean you should have to sacrifice quality. For years, we nerded out on coffee, trying to get the highest quality, but that takes a lot of time, weighing the beans, getting the right grind, getting your water to the perfect temperature. And so when we had kids, we kind of shifted to the pod system, right? And it was a major downgrade. That was until we found X-Bloom.
X-Bloom works with the best roasters around the country, and their machine truly brings the specialty coffee shop experience to your home. If you love a good pour over, I highly recommend you check this out. You can elevate your coffee drinking experience while keeping up with your kids. If you're ready to transform your mornings, head to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to get started. That's rainmakerfamily.com/deals. When talking about being a solutionary, I think something that people overlook, or when they're first getting started, this isn't very sexy or might even be a little bit controversial depending on the entrepreneur. But I think trying to test something for free could actually be a really good solution. And if, we were talking about this before, but like if someone is not willing to raise their hand for free, then maybe you shouldn't be bringing the idea to market. And I think having somebody raise their hand and say like, yes, I would want to do this for free. There's a lot of great ways that you can dive into your customer avatar, who they are, what they want. Maybe you can spend a little
What
extra.
they don't want, too,
yeah, or what they don't
I mean,
want.
I'm thinking like positioning.
Yeah.
Like if I would highly recommend this. Try it for free, whatever it is, service, whatever, like, physical product, whatever the solution is, affiliate product, digital product. See what you can put out there for free and see if you'll raise their hand. Because sometimes you just learn their language is bad. Like the idea is good, the solution's good.
Yeah.
When you tell a friend about it, it's good, but you try to put it online and just the way you said it is off. And I'm going to give an extreme example of this. So let's say you're a man and you have this coaching program on helping other men get free from pornography addiction. Okay. This is a more extreme service. Now you go on your Facebook page, you're like, I'm going to test this. Stephen said, test this. You go on your Facebook page, you're like, man, who's struggling with pornography? Drop in the chat, me.
Who's going
to raise their hand for that free thing? Even if it's free, maybe it's amazing. It's going to change your life. Guys, it's absolutely free. I'm going to charge $1,000 for this service, but it's free today. Just drop me below if that's you. What guy is going to go in the chat and go, me, right? No. But if you say, hey, I have a coaching program that's going to help you with intimacy in your marriage. It's going to help you with purity in your heart. It's going to help you with all these benefits, right?
Yeah.
Not the actual thing, but the benefits beyond that thing.
Yeah.
How many men are going to go, oh yeah, I would love more intimacy in my marriage. Like you're going to get a lot more hand raises. So sometimes you just have to figure out the language. Yeah. And that's what we had with Rainmakers. We had this free thing at the beginning. We did it for free. We did a little Facebook group and we just taught people for free. Yeah. But not a lot of people paid attention. We found when people will pay, they pay attention. So that was the first thing. We just actually decided we're going to have people pay for this so they actually get the results. But two, we had to clarify our language. And when we hired that Facebook ad agency, we hadn't clarified who the product was for. Yeah. And when your product is for everyone, it's often for no one because you're just trying to like be for everyone. And unless you're Oprah or like, like one of these top of funnel kind of just like Tony Robbins, you're for everyone kind of thing. Even Tony Robbins is a little more niche. Yeah. But like, unless you're that type of person, you have that type of influence, you got to make this thing really specific. Yeah. And if it's really specifically for someone, they see it and they're like, oh my gosh, that is so for me. Like I can't not get in this thing. And so when we took Rainmakers and we made it for moms and we made all the language for moms, we know the training courses and things like optimized for like when you don't have a lot of time, right? You want to make a big impact. That was the thing that gave us the language that starts having people see it and go, oh my gosh, that's for me. Right. And in a marketplace where there is a lot of online coaching and training things, it helps us really stand out by having that smaller niche. And so I would say offer for free, test different language. Oftentimes talking to people, you find the language that's going to resonate with them. And then the other way you can test things before you even take a risk with something is see if other people are doing it, right? Like you probably don't want to be the first person ever in the world to make money doing that thing or bringing that solution. Oftentimes when you're that person, you have to do so much education around why people need this thing. Cause like no one's ever heard of it. But if you see other people making money doing something similar, even if it's like for a different niche, right? It just gives you, proof and like confidence that like, man, there's money flowing here. I know that this is possible, right? You go to be like a logo designer, right? And like create logos for businesses, or maybe you're hiring people who are designers to create logos for businesses. And you're just selling the service. You know that like there's thousands of logo designers out there. Like we know that there's a thing. Businesses buy logos and it's just like proven, right? But if you're like doing something that no one's ever heard of, it's way harder to sell because now you have to educate on that thing. So I think that's a big piece of it, is look for where money's already flowing, look for things that are already working, and then just make them better, make them your own flavor, or apply them to a different industry that don't have that thing yet.
Another great way is to thinking about what problem can I solve is really immersing yourself in that market. So you hear the phrase, scratch your own itch. And when I think of that specifically, I think of our friend from Truly Free, which is an awesome brand. You can find them on Amazon. They also have their own marketplace. And the product that he started was for his son because they didn't have any clean. His son was, I think, struggling with like eczema.
He was getting all these rashes, I think.
Yeah. And so he's just like, I need a clean laundry detergent. I mean, how many moms know? I feel like it's a common thing now, but it's just like there's so much crap in laundry detergent. Like, nothing against Tide, but like there's so much stuff in there. If you use Tide, it's okay. There's chemical stuff in our house still too. But like, it's a clean product that smells good, that actually works. And I think
how did he tell him that idea?
By testing it with his son, like scratching his own itch.
He had his own problem in his life that he created the solution for. And that creates such a powerful story for the brand. Like, that's incredible. I mean, Jack, who came into our community, he had ADHD. He was going to these doctors. They're prescribing all this stuff. Caffeine was making him jittery, all these things. So he went on this journey to find a solution that would help him stay focused, productive, without all the negative side effects that like having too much caffeine and coffee and acidity and all these things would do. So that's how he created this mushroom coffee brand. Like, that's his scratch my own itch story. And when you hear that story, you're like, oh my gosh, you start hearing yourself in the story and you're like, I want to buy that brand. I want to check it out. If you just heard these two stories, we didn't even tell them as powerfully as these guys tell them when they talk about their brands. But even if just hearing us say, if you just thought about going to Truly Free or going to Everyday Dose and buying those products, that's the power of a scratch your own itch story. And so definitely, if you're thinking about like, how could I bring value to the world in the form of a business, think about the own problems in your life that you want to go after and solve. Right. And those are powerful. You see, I mean, the Shark Tank, like all the time. That's like the go-to story for these entrepreneurs. Like, I had this problem. No one else in the industry cared about it. No one else was wanting to solve it. So I took it on my shoulders and I solved it. And here's my product. Boom. So to wrap it up, we are doing deep dives on the Rainmaker Method. There's 3 things in the Rainmaker Method. It is leverage, solution, automation. You can apply these 3 things to any business and you can have a fully functional, time freedom-based business. You got to start with leverage because that's going to give you the actual time freedom piece of this thing. It's going to actually give you more with less when it comes to reach, without burning yourself out and burning the candle on both ends. Solution, that's just the core part of any business. And we're just solutionaries. We wrote a book on this. It's called The Rainmaker, How to Win When Life Gives You Rain. It's basically like there's no problems without possibilities. You might have rain, but you can turn it into something. You can turn it into a gain. Okay. And so you can check that on Amazon. It's a children's book, but like literally this is a mindset that we teach because this is what you have to have if you're going to be a powerful entrepreneur. And then the third part, which is coming soon, is going to be all about automation, right? So once you have leverage, you got time freedom, you have the solution, right? And now you've tested it, it's selling. Now, how can we make it even more hands-off? How can we add automation to the puzzle so that we can truly make a business that buys back our time, that creates amazing impact and income, but doesn't burn us out in the process? We call it the family first style business.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. And speaking of solutions, I create a solution for all the busy mamas out there who want to read a newsletter once a week, feel inspired, have quick tips, actionable items, and also hear about some of my favorite products that have changed the game for me and my family. If that sounds like something that you would want to read and be a part of an amazing community, you can go to beautifulmamanewsletter.com to subscribe to that. It's a newsletter that myself and our team has created just for you, and I would love for you to join that community. You can also find all the links at my personal website, chelseadiaz.com, or Chels_Diaz on Instagram to connect with me there.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmakers is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you,
financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.